Hi guys, okay, so school groups and university groups. So just a super quick check-in with you. Hopefully by this point you've watched quite a few trainings, and you're pretty excited about the opportunities, like limitless possibilities that are out there for you to grab that are going to help you significantly grow this business. And I guess you're probably thinking about all the things you haven't done, and most importantly, getting really excited about the things that you are going to do from this moment on. Okay, so let's dive into school and university groups, what there is to love about them, how you're going to find the right customers, what you're going to do to serve them, and how this channel could very possibly form hugely important of your overall sales makeup. So I'll grab my slides and we'll jump in. All right, guys. So same as I told you in the last training, you're going to be able to use all of those strategies that we learned through those other channels, agents, corporate, hotels, exactly the same strategies. We'll dive in a bit deeper and I'll show you how we'll use them for school groups, but same strategies that you're going to be able to use to build your audience of the right decision makers. So we're talking about school groups, primary school groups, university groups, higher education groups, college groups, and basically education groups. And what is there to love about them, like about them, love about them? Lots of things. I guess the first thing is that for me, it was a beautiful channel that allowed me to sort of iron out the seasonality in my business in the same way that the corporate market did. So that by that I mean, and a lot of you would have this situation, you might be running your activities or experiences in a destination that is really heavily weighted towards school holidays and weekends, which creates this feast or famine, means that you're straining at the seam certain times and you're really quiet. And what you would love to do is just get this beautiful, even spread of revenue throughout the week, the month, and the year. School groups really help to aid that. No commissions, so you're not paying commissions to these groups, which is amazing. And generally, payment is either pay on the day or prepayment, which is amazing as well, especially when you run a business that relies on other resellers where you might not see your money for 30 days. One of the things that I love about school groups is that if you get in with them, then you've got something along the lines of a customer for life. Okay, so by that I mean you don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. So let's take a corporate group, for example. You might win a piece of business from a corporate group. You might do like a team building day, team building challenge for a group, and feedback might be great. The event organizer might say, that was fantastic, we'll definitely keep you in mind, and they might reach out to you, it might be 3 months down the line. And they might say, look, that was so successful, that last one, what are we doing this time? And you're like, oh, well, that's the only thing I've got. So, wow, what am I going to do? Right, let's get back to the drawing board and let's see if we can reinvent the wheel. School groups, it's beautiful. So not only is there not these significant gaps, you can't do a team building experience every week. With a school group, there's 12, 20, 25 different, 10, 6, whatever it is, different levels within the school. You might appeal to each and every one of them. Possibly. You might also, let's say if you're running like a specialized architecture experience for 12th grade design students, okay, that's great. You might only do it once a year, but then the 11th graders are going out to 12th grades next year. Then the 10th graders are going out to the 11th grade and 12th grade. So there's this constant cycle of new students every year doing the same thing, okay, which is fantastic. And that doesn't happen through other channels, all right? So that's what I mean by not needing to reinvent the wheel. So the question you need to ask yourself, and this is what every decision maker within an education facility who runs education groups is going to ask you or ask themselves, or how, what you need to do to convince them that you're the right fit for them, is for you to convey to them how you can definitively contribute to the growth of their students. What are they going to learn? How are they going to evolve? How are they going to grow? How can you make them better human beings? Okay, so that's what you can, that's your challenge, okay? And how do you convey that? So when you're trying to sell something that you do, you're not talking about the features. If you're running a rock climbing experience, you're not talking about the heights and the adrenaline rush and the thrills. you're talking about the pushing yourselves to the limits, about getting out of your comfort zone, about camaraderie and support, working together as a team, and how that's going to improve them as people. And so that's where you're going to really break through. If you run like a very niche history tour, and it's of your local, it's like an insider's look at your city, and you're trying to target sixth grade history students. Okay, how can you convey to the head of faculty in the history department that your experience should become an essential cog in the greater history program for that year level? What are they going to learn? How are they going to improve their knowledge base, and how are they going to, improve the education they're providing to their students? Okay, that's the challenge. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So where do I start? Who organizes this stuff? Very good question. And there's general themes, but there's no one specific way to answer that question. You've got to be creative. You've got to learn. You've got to try new things. You've got to think broadly. This is a channel where that entrepreneurial mindset is going to shine through, because you've got to think your way through it. Okay, so by that I mean, how are you going to find out who the right people are within those schools, those colleges, those universities, those secondary schools or higher education schools, the primary schools that are going to be tasked with the responsibility of organizing this stuff? Okay, so here's some of the stuff I know. In a lot of schools, you're going to have a camp coordinator. It may not be called that. When you're outreaching, you might ask the gatekeeper who's tasked with the responsibility of coordinating school camps. May not be the camp coordinator, okay? Might be the outdoor education specialist or the outdoor education coordinator. Again, in your outreach, you might be asking a gatekeeper to a university, school, college, primary school, who is tasked with the responsibility of organizing outdoor education experiences. And they might point you to someone who has a different job title to that, okay? If you run a whale watching experience, well, you might be asking a gatekeeper to an education facility who is tasked, or who is the head of faculty for the science program or the marine science program, that you feel logically would be the person that would be most interested in that, marine biology or science experience that you deliver. A great example is this. So a few days ago, I called up the enrollments officer at the private school that my two oldest daughters go to. I was curious, and I thought it'd help you guys out as well. So I said, Claire, how's it going? It's Josh here. She knows me well. Hey, Josh, how are you? Great. This is a weird question. It's not anything related to my kids. Purely, I've got my business hat on here. I help tour and activity experience business owners grow their business. I'm trying to help them understand better how they can work with school groups, okay? And I gave her an example. Imagine they run a whale watching experience, or they've got a rock climbing wall, or perhaps they run like an Indigenous history tour with in the local area. Things that would be very valuable for the education of students. So who would I be speaking to? And she said, oh, great question, Josh. Well, there's the camp coordinator who does a lot of this kind of stuff and facilitates the camps, and they're always looking for ways to liven them up and freshen them up and to keep students engaged. That's one person. Another person is the outdoor education specialist. His name's Nathan Goodall, and he's tasked with sourcing products and experiences like a rock climbing wall, like a dusk kayaking paddle where they interact with platypus, things like that. So that would be his role. Or if you're running like a history tour, or if you're running a culinary experience, you'd be speaking to the head of faculty. So the head of science or the head of history or something like that. And the person who oversees all of this, her name's, what's her name? Sarah Jane Atley. This is irrelevant to you, but her role is the director of personal capacity. And all of these people report to her. I was like, this is fascinating stuff. Thank you very much. So I'm not saying that director of personal capacity exists in all education facilities, but there is a person who oversees all that stuff. And in the school that my kids go to, that's her. And most importantly, Claire, the enrollments officer, was able to tell me definitively that all of these people are open to outreach and proposals from experiences and tours and activities that would aid their students and help them evolve and improve their education. Okay, so that's just one place. And that was a very interesting conversation. I thought you'd find it very interesting as well. And you guys could do exactly the same thing hundreds of times over in your destination. All right. So when you begin your outreach, it might sound a bit clunky at first. You're going to do it both on the phone and you're going to do it online. Now, just remember, phone outreach is laborious and time consuming. But imagine how valuable one phone call could be with one outdoor education coordinator who you're able to build a relationship with, convey the value of what you do, get that one opportunity, that first opportunity, and 2 or 3 years down the line, you're doing 8 to 10 school groups per year, maybe more. You're running camps, but perhaps you're embedded in the program for a particular year level in a particular faculty. And that could come through one phone conversation. Okay, so it is you only have a one call or one email away from a momentous breakthrough, as far as I believe. So you do want to be able to scale this, hence the getting it off your shoulders onto someone who can do this on your behalf. But you certainly do want to invest the time in this if you feel like this channel is for you. If you feel like you can legitimately provide value to an education group, if you feel, or if you have in the past had really successful groups that have loved what you've done, benefited massively from it, then it's really important for you. And what will happen, the process will improve. It'll become more fluid. You'll become more knowledgeable. You'll become more confident. You'll be looking for certain people. You'll know that you found them in other places and you'll have the confidence to find them in other schools, universities, colleges as well. So it starts slowly. It could feel clunky. It grows in momentum. It gets easier as you grow in confidence and knowledge of this particular channel. Okay. So the way that's going to happen is, down the line, as you have some more success, you do a few groups, you understand better the inner mechanics of these places, you'll be able to share case studies, you'll be able to talk about happy clients that you've got, you'll be able to pass on referrals, you'll be able to more easily answer curveball questions, and it'll become like a snowball effect. And the level of confidence will grow to the point, both email or message or phone or on the way that you reach out, you'll be able to convey that to you. It seems that they have a responsibility to their students to do something with you, because look at all of the other examples and the success stories that are happening with others that are using you and that you're helping impact their students. Does that make sense? Hope it does. So it happens really quickly. You'll grow confidence. And it'll all just start to flow really, really quickly. I'm very, very confident if you've got the right product to succeed in the education market. Okay. So remember, as I just said, you want to be able to create a system that you can hand over. Okay. And that goes through the training videos that you create and the way that you create your outreach strategy, based on the examples I've given you, based on the guidance I've given you, but something that works for you. Okay. So what you want to do is set someone else up for success that's not you, that can perform this with confidence. So you can go over there and start and continue developing your business and have a bigger impact doing the stuff you're great at. Leave the laborious grind work in growing your community of that particular decision maker in that channel to somebody else. That's the key. That's the way it works best. All right. So where do you start? Good question. So 2 places you're going to start. One is getting a good list together of all of the schools in your destination that you want to work with. Simple. So how would you do that? Let's take a look. So let's say, for example, I Google, list of Sunshine schools on the Sunshine Coast. So I live on the Sunshine Coast, which is just north of Brisbane in Australia. So we Google list of schools on the Sunshine Coast. If I was running, let's say, a whale watching experience, or like an Indigenous tour, or a foodie tour, and there was like food science programs or something like that in a university or a higher education facility, That's where I'd be. This is the way I'd go about it. And again, what you're wanting to do is populate the list. Okay. So that list is this one over here. And the area that you're wanting to populate is this area here in school groups. So you're wanting to get an email, first name, last name, company name, title. So, through this strategy, first of all, you're gonna be able to start filling this out, and then gradually, in a fairly short period of time, you're going to start to build out the rest of the important information that you need. Okay, so let's say we come over here to first website, let's see, Better Education, best schools in the Sunshine Coast. So what have we got? A bunch of private schools that we'd love to work with. Okay, so that would be an obvious place to start. To be honest, to build relationships with the right people in those schools would give you all the business you would ever need in your life. Okay, but let's say we want to come over here and we want to take a look at, for example, okay, so the list starts to grow. All right, what have we got there? We've got 100 different schools. All right, so these would go on the list logically, geographically, they're in the right place. High-performing schools would have budgets to spend on enhancing the education of their students. That would be a simple place to start. So I would be literally coming over here, grabbing every one of those schools, dropping it into my list, and then working on populating them either by phone or jumping on the school website and finding, there's going to be a staff directory on many of these websites, or just quite simply hitting up the gatekeeper of the school. Hi there, look, I'm hoping you can point me in the right direction of the education coordinator there. Great, yeah, you need to speak to, Nathan, Scott. Okay, great. Have you got an email there? I'd just like to send him something over to take a look at. So that would be a very, very simple way just to start populating that. The other way, of course, is to come over here to LinkedIn. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Outdoor education as a key search word. Okay, so then we're going to come down here and we are going to go with, well, Brisbane would be logical because it's about an hour and a half south. So you'd want to get people up from Brisbane if I ran an experience on the Sunshine Coast. So we're going to look at Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast. Great. Okay. So then we're going to take a look here at industry. And what we're going to look here at is primary and secondary education. We're going to take a look at education administration. Great. We're going to have a look at education, and we're going to have a look at higher education. Okay, cool. So now we've got geographically, we've got the Brisbane and the Sunshine Coast area, which is fantastic. We've got all of these different, this industry, the education industry, there's different terms that we can search for in the education industry. And really at the moment, that's all we need, because we don't want to search job title because we're not 100% sure what we're looking for. Okay, so keywords outdoor education. So that's given us something to work with, 131 results there. Okay, and a lot of these, I think you're going to find are legitimate targets. Outdoor education lecturer, fantastic. What else have we got? Executive director, great. Outdoor education instructor. You're gonna find some really great points of contact here. Okay, and if they are not the person, that's fine. I'm sure they're going to be able to point you in the right direction. All right. So those two strategies themselves. Now, this I don't believe you need to build a database of 500, 1,000 here, especially if you're in a destination that doesn't have a huge number of education facilities. So, but you know who you want to be working with. And really, if you onboarded 5 or 6 partners that used you 3 or 4 times a year for their groups, can you only imagine what that would do to your business? So look, I see it as very, very exciting. So let's jump back to the slides for a second. Let's talk outreach. So what we've got now is some strategies that we're going to be able to start growing that email list. And, whether it's by 20 or 30 or 40 a week, or whether it starts small, whether you're running your experiences in a really, sort of a semi-remote area where there's probably only scope to work with 20 or 30 or 40 schools, that's fine. They're the ones you want to work with, okay? And you may imagine if you work, you run your experiences in a really remote destination where there's only 20 or 30 or 40 schools within about a 1 to 2 hour drive, well, imagine if you could be working with every year level. That'd be amazing. Is there scope to do that? Can you tweak your product to appeal to a second grader and a 10th grader. Hopefully you can. So I think there's scope for everyone, no matter where you are and where you run your experiences. Okay, so outreach. A lot of these strategies we've talked about before, you're going to be using very similar strategies. The first one, obviously, is LinkedIn. You want to get connected on LinkedIn. Goes without saying. Do that with a simple connection message like this. And then you want to get people onto your email list, get them dropped into like an email sequence, a warm-up email sequence, culminating ideally in a phone call. Go back to the agent training and also the LinkedIn training at the start of module 2. That's going to show you again step-by-step how to do that. So that's the first one. All right. You want to get connected and you want to start warming them up with some like an engagement campaign. Okay. Then the next one, if you're not outreaching to someone you're connected with on LinkedIn, it could be something along the lines of this. I've tweaked this a little bit to appeal maybe more to this decision maker from a school or a university. Hope you don't mind me reaching out here. I run this thing in this destination. Love to line up a quick call. I've got a few thoughts on how I could help you out. Sure, I can think of a few ways you could help me out too, with our common experience in, etc., etc. What's your schedule like? So that's you could. To be honest, I'm actually gonna make a little change here. This paragraph here, I've got a few thoughts on how I can help you out. I'd actually leave that out. Okay. So I'd love to line up a quick call with our common experience in or passion for. I reckon for this channel, leave that bit out. Okay. There you go. Made the decision. Leave it out. All right. So that's the next type of outreach and connection. Or if you're outreaching by phone, you do not want to be selling yourself on the phone. Okay. Cold calling and selling yourself on the phone. You could just be completely open and honest. Hi, my name's Josh. I run this experience in this place. I wanted to get an email through the outdoor education coordinator. What's the best email to do that? Simple. Okay. They might have a process or they might be just willing to pass that on. Okay. If they do pass it on willingly, just say, look, that's wonderful. So just to clarify, so it's for example, so it's Nathan who is the outdoor education coordinator. Great. Thanks so much for that. I'll get an email over to Nathan. Okay, so that would be the way I probably approach it by phone. When you're outreaching by phone, don't try and sell yourself. You want to make it easy as you possibly can. You don't want to get anyone in a place of discomfort and don't want to get a wall up. You're just like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I was hoping to get an email over to the insert person, head of science or head of history. What's the best email address to do that? Simple. Okay. So that's the sort of 3 types of outreach. There's the LinkedIn connection. There's the cold email from someone that you found that you are confident is the right point of contact that can help you and that would like to know about what you do. Or there's the phone just to confirm who the best person is in that role that might want to hear from you. Okay. That's the way I'd probably go about it. All right. So action steps, guys. I reckon you know the drill by now. It's not dissimilar to previous trainings. 1, using the strategies we've talked about. Well, first of all, just obviously want to make 100% sure and clear in your mind with confidence that this is the right channel for you. You've got something to offer education groups. You've done education groups in the past. They've gone really well. And you've had that feeling, wow, that was great. That was really profitable. It was really fun. People loved it. They got a lot out of it. I wish I could do more of those. Okay. And if you've had those feelings, then this is definitely the channel for you. Okay. So you want to do that. Then you want to start populating that list. All right. Let's go with 20 school groups that you want to work with. Okay. And then you want to start dialing in your outreach strategy. You want to find out who the people are within those schools that you want to get in front of. You want to get your stuff in front of. You want to build a relationship with, and you want to figure out your outreach strategy. Is it going to be LinkedIn? Yes, I'm sure part of it will be. Will it be research-based online? 100%. Okay. And will it just be anecdotal from this, the schools that are surrounding you? You might have personal connections already. So bunch of things like that. And you're going to start populating that list and get a whole bunch of data into that. And then you're going to record that Loom walkthrough video, which you're going to be able to train your VA to run this strategy end to end. Okay. And then you're just going to start outreach. then you're just going to start building connections, building relationships. And from that point, we're going to pick it up in module 3, which is where we talk again, as I've said, about the how to convert, how to turn awareness and interest into sales. Okay. So we'll figure out that stuff in module 3. But for now, it's building relationships, building awareness, building that list, and getting people, really comfortable with a deep understanding of who you are, what you do, how you can help them. That's what you need to do right now. We'll figure out the conversion stuff in module 3. Okay, cool. See you over in the next lesson, guys.